Welcome back to Rocket City Momentum, where we interview cool people doing cool things in the Rocket City and beyond. And today we are joined by Matt Curtis of Matt Curtis Real Estate. And I'm so excited to dig in because you're kind of like a real estate king in the area. You have pretty much a real estate empire, right?
We're working on it. I like that you called me cool because now I can show this podcast. I've got proof to show my kids that I'm actually cool.
Like, listen, rewind, play,
That's
rewind,
right,
play.
yeah.
Okay, well, so I had the honor of doing business with you back in 2012. So how long have you been in business?
I always have to think back. So it was actually, the honor was all mine. It was a pleasure working with you all. And it's awesome that we were able to still see you guys at the event the other day at Dave & Buster's. And so that's how we feel. It's when somebody buys or sells a home with us, they're part of our family. We don't believe in closings. Closings are kind of closure. We believe that they're part of our families. And what do families do? They celebrate birthdays and holidays with Thanksgiving pies, and they get together throughout the year. But back to your question, as far as how long have I been in business? Let's see. So my wife was pregnant with my son, Bryce, when I had first got started in real estate. He is now 18 years old. So it's been about 18 years.
It's funny how we relate things to pre-baby, post-baby, because that's literally how I remembered when we worked together because I was pregnant with Riley. My now 13-year-old, we were moving from it was our starter home in Tony, and we were actually having a lot of trouble selling it. And I remember we decided we were going to interview realtors, right? And I believe it was like a dark and stormy night. And you came out to our house in Tony and sat down with us. And you had a binder with you. And you were going through, here's what we can offer you. Here's what sets us apart. Here's what we believe in. These are the things that we focus on. And I think we didn't even end up interviewing anyone else. We were just like, okay, let's do it. Let's go for it. And we had a family of 4, and we were just in this little bitty, maybe 1,800 square foot. And we ended up in Madison off of Sarah Jane in it was almost 4,000 square feet. It was huge. It was so life-changing. So tell me about the concept behind sitting down and kind of going through the book and telling what's different.
Well, I think back then I used the term we pretty loosely because, at the time it might have been kind of me, myself, and I. We weren't a big team at the time. Somebody asked me, why did I get started? Why did I start Matt Curtis Real Estate? And it wasn't initially the goal to build it as big as we have it now. It was more kind of job ownership. We were at 2008 Great Recession, and I was working for a builder at the time, and I didn't like how they were doing some things with clients. They would treat me really well, but I just didn't like the client experience. I wanted to be able to own that client experience, and I didn't want to go to another brokerage because I heard some brokerages were going under, and so I was like, I'll just start my own thing. And so originally I was putting out the signs, I was doing the books, I was even cleaning the toilets at the time. And fast forward today, we have a team of almost 80 team members now.
80 team members.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was never the vision.
That was not the original vision.
Okay, what was the original vision?
You fast forward about 3 or 4 years, and I met a mentor. His name is Howard Tager. He owned a marketing company. It's called Tiger Leads. And he's since sold that company, but he has another company we do some business with now. But basically he got me introduced to other real estate team leaders and kind of convinced me on the idea of, hey, if you build this team, you can actually serve more clients, you can provide better service, you can end up making more money, just a lot of things that you could scale and do. And so I went to this conference in Chicago, and I remember it was yesterday, not knowing anything, and then going there and taking just pages and pages of notes. I probably had 20, 30 pages worth of notes. and my flight got delayed, which was a great thing because I took those notes, I compiled them into a business plan, and I stayed up late every night for that week and really created a business plan that's probably 80-90% of what we operate off of today. So
Really?
It was a period of time that changed my life.
Job ownership. And so that is very different than owning a business.
It is.
And when the initial vision was to own a job, which is okay.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think a lot of people think that they're the same thing, and they get kind of in this trap thinking, oh, I'm going to go do my own thing. And then they end up owning a job
Right.
that is like draining the life from them. So maybe tell us a little bit about the difference and maybe the ahas when you were like, I'm going to step out of a job
Right.
and into a business.
Yeah. Well, one of the differences, so you can kind of compare it to, is job ownership versus, owning a company is, we went out of town last week for spring break, for kids' spring break, and business continued to happen. We had really actually record sales. We sold 29 homes. Nobody called me. Nothing blew up. Nothing happened. And I came back and, the business was still there and it was thriving. It was actually probably better than I left it. So that's a real company. So job ownership versus owning a company is like, I actually, the 8 to 5 is not really running. It's not actually growing the company. It's what you do outside of that. It's the ideas and, how we're going to do this or do that. And so when you get involved in the details of the company, you're not actually growing it. You got to kind of, get above it and look at where you're going to go next, what you're going to do next. So completely different things. You just have to know like what you enjoy doing, what you want to do, where your vision is. Some people, they love maybe selling homes. That's what they want to do for the rest 20 years of their life. For me, I get bored about every 2 to 3 years and I need a new challenge.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. and so, the progression of it is, I started, doing this and then I'd stop doing that. And then I would, hire somebody who's better than me to do that piece. And I would just continue to iterate that process. And I'm continuing to do that today. I continue to replace myself out of the business. Not that I'm not busy anymore. I'm just finding other things to work on that are actually more productive for our team.
Yeah. And really push it to that next level. So I remember when we were talking and I was like, okay, so who comes up with your marketing ideas? And you're like, it's me. I'm typically the mastermind behind it. So how does that look and work?
Yeah. And so we have a marketing department now. We've got 2 team members in-house. We offload some of our marketing as well. So we have a lot of folks that contribute and participate and help with our marketing. But as far as the ideas and the slogans, those typically do come from me. There's some things that you just can't offload. And I think it's just really important as a leader to know what you're best at and the things that you're not good at. And, things that you're not good at, you don't enjoy doing, those are the things that you need to replace. But there's some things as a leader that you're not really replaceable on.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you need to continue to do. And, some of those marketing taglines and different things, that's one of the things that I need to do.
Yeah. So kind of going back to the before, what were the, walk me through like your first hire. Was it a contractor or a full-time employee? Like what did that look like?
Yeah. One of our first hires was actually, her name's Denise Morris. She's still with the team today. She was actually a past client like you. She moved here from LA, not California, lower Alabama. But she came with a lot of real estate experience, a lot of closing experience. And I actually kind of feel bad about now that I think about the story. I originally got her a job at an attorney's office and she was looking to kind of scale back and do a little bit less. And so I hired her part-time and little did she know that part-time job was going to become a very full-time job. But I'm just so thankful for her. She's been an amazing team member. She now runs our closing department, the best closing coordinator in the entire state, probably in the entire Southeast. Closed thousands of homes, really a backbone of our company. I've been told by multiple agents, like whenever she retires, that's about the time that I'm going to as well.
So, okay, well, how did you know? How did you know that she was the right fit?
That's a good question. Early on, I think that one, that was more of a God thing. She was a past client. Sometimes you just pray and just, submit it to God, and just the right person shows up. I know for hiring, I made a lot of bad hiring decisions over the years. So I can tell you a lot I can give you a masterclass on what not to do now. But I will say, like, today we have the best team that we've ever had. And I've been just so blessed too by having, folks like Denise and, Crystal that runs our listing department, has been with us over a decade now. She started as a young girl working at the front desk. Now she's married and has multiple kids and just runs that department, and just agents that have been with us for years. It's just a really humbling thing to see them, believe in the vision and where the company is going, and just play such a big role, a big part in that. And it's really the most humbling thing of what I get to do.
Well, obviously, in order to have, people stay for decades, it means you must have a good culture, right? So what is it that you intentionally did with the culture and even still do today?
Yeah, really, I think when I think about culture, I think about a couple of things. One is, I think a lot of companies get this wrong, is they interview someone, but they don't really go over, like, hey, here's our mission statement, here's our core values, because interviews go both ways. And the team member needs to realize, hey, this is what we stand for. Because sometimes people get into the job and they're like, oh, I thought it was this and now it's that. So you got to be really clear. And, one of our goals is, one of the first things that we do is like, hey, Dana, you're looking to come on board on our team. Here's our mission statement. Here's our core values. I know you're interviewing us, we're interviewing you. Is that a good fit for you? Is that what you're looking for? And then it also really, it helps with not only hiring decisions, because you are able to basically grade everybody through the lens of those core values, but then it also makes firing decisions very easy as well. You don't have to, you just look at it like, hey, is this part of our core values or not? And sometimes we've had to make tough decisions. I like the person, but that's clearly a violation of our core value. And what you allow becomes the norm. Like, if this behavior is allowed, this is going to run off all those people who have been here for a decade because they signed up for something different. And so core values, mission statement is extremely, extremely important for us. I think another thing that had unintended consequences, I didn't realize, how big it was going to be for our team and so many people joining our team, is God gave us a vision a long time ago. For every 100 homes that we sell, we build a home for a family in Central America, and we've built 157 so far now. And a lot of people like being part of something bigger than themselves. And I personally think we have the best career in the world. As real estate agents at Matt Curtis Real Estate, you get to drive your own income. You want to raise, snap, clap your fingers. All you got to do is work harder, get better at scripting, get better at serving clients, and you can get a raise because you're pure commission. And then number two is, homeowners have 40 times the net worth of renters. Like, you're building wealth and equity for people. You're changing their family trees. And as you know, it's just better living in a home than renting a home. And so that's the second reason. But the third thing is, you're also making an impact for a family on the other side of the world. So a lot of people like that, like, hey, I'm going to be able to earn my own income. I'm going to make a difference in other people's lives, but I also get to play a part in this as well. So that's, I think, a big thing, that the reason why people like, joining our team.
No, I love it. So take us through, okay, so we were going back to the first hire, and then, like, how long did you stay with just the one? Like, how long was it before we grew a little more?
Yeah, that's a good question. Once it's kind of like a flywheel. A flywheel, when you first start pushing on it, it just barely starts to turn, and then it turns a little bit faster second time. It goes, it starts to turn, gets faster and faster, and that's how it is today. Like, we just hired a recruiter for our agent side, and her goal is to hire 2 new agents a week. 2 new agents in a month used to be like a banner year, a banner month, or maybe even 2 in a quarter. And so we started with one and had a second and a third. Now it's just moving so quickly that it's an entire department that we have. We have recruiting, we have onboarding, and that's something we talk about each week too. We look at metrics. How is, with the growth that we're having on the agent side and the sales side, how's our admin support staff doing? What's their workloads looking like? All right, our goal is this. How many new people are we going to need to hire for next year, hire for next quarter? Let's go ahead and start putting the job postings out. So it used to be kind of reactionary. It's like, oh, wow, we set a goal. We actually grew. Now we need to go hire somebody. But we've gotten a lot smarter about it now.
Yeah. So what was it? What was the shift? Like, when did that occur? And was it like a thought that you had, or was it just circumstantial? Like
we finally woke up and realized that, one, the business is a little cyclical. You've got spring and summer. And so we need to make sure we have certain staffing in certain periods of time. But we got really, scientific on our numbers. Like, this position can handle this many closings. This position can handle that many, and looking at people's workloads.
Sure.
And then just, part of it too is you got to grow to a certain size where you have people that are able to do those roles. Because, initially, back to the conference I was telling you about, I had an org chart. So I had multiple positions. I just, my name was in a lot of them. And so, but as you grow and you have more income coming in, you can afford to take yourself out of those positions. And as you're able to take yourself out of those positions, they're able to focus on those things full time and do them a better job than you would be able to do them part time.
Yeah, that's a great exercise. I will often have people create that whole org chart. And I think people do struggle with that because they're like, it's me and like maybe a contractor or something what they've started out. And it's like, no, go ahead and take the vision of what all roles it would take and have them all. And then you're right, just start popping people in. And you should have job descriptions for each of those roles so that when the right person comes, you know where to put them. All right. So along the way, what did you learn about putting people in the right places?
Well, it's all about hiring the right people, but it's also about putting them in the right seat on the bus. Like you can have the right person, but you can have them in the wrong seat. And sometimes we'll hire an agent. They're like, oh, I love this company. I love everything about it, but I just don't like working for commission. and so they find another seat. Those have been some of our best closing coordinators. And so it's finding the right positions, right people. I think having like this personality is really important as well. You're not going to want to hire somebody that's, high eye, really outgoing person to do your books.
They're going to be so bored.
Yeah. I mean, you want somebody that enjoys the numbers and behind those things. And so that comes into play as well.
For sure. So do you guys do DISC as part of your hiring process or?
We do more on the admin side. We used to do it all on the agent side. One of the things I found out about the agent side is we used to do 3 interviews. It was, Dave Ramsey, Dave Ramsey to the core. Like Dave Ramsey does, 10 or 20 interviews or whatever he does. But we had a lot of interviews for the agent side, more than anybody else. But what we found was it's, with an agent, you basically, you can take them through these processes, but being an agent is so different than a W-2. And so some people that we thought, oh, they're never going to be successful at sales, they're some of the best agents, and not only on our team, but in the entire Huntsville. And then vice versa, like, oh, that person, they're going to be a rock star. And then they just won't even pick up the phone. They're scared of calling clients. And so we have a 1 interview process now, but it's more of an ongoing interview for the first 90 days. Will you commit to coming to train? Because it's different. Going to a W-2 job, hey, you need to be here at 8, you're leaving at 5, this is when you take lunch breaks, all these kind of things.
You'll have this guaranteed amount of money.
Exactly, yeah. And so some people are wired for that, some aren't. And you'll know really, really quickly. So we hire based on core values and we screen people based on that. But then when they come on the team, it's still part of that interview process to see if, are they going to call clients? Are they going to be disciplined to come to training and do what they need to do?
Yeah, I think the point that you're making here that's really well is that it's so hard to tell in an interview where you're spending time with someone 30 minutes to an hour. They could put on a really good facade. They could look like they're super organized. And then behind the scenes, it's just hot mess express.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to show up in the 90 days. And so you've already set that expectation. They're not, so they know is it kind of like a trial, or is it like, how do you describe it?
Yeah. I mean, agents are at will in a way. So, agents are independent contractors. So it's a little bit different thing. But yeah, I mean, it's really clear, like, you've got to perform. I mean, but too, it's self-selective, because if they decide not to come to training, if they decide not to make calls and do all these things, they're going to end up self-selecting out because they're not going to make income.
Yeah, right. And who can sustain something that has no income associated with it?
Right.
I mean, then it becomes a volunteer position, and woof. I love that point. All right. So what do you feel like changed the most with your mindset?
That's a good question. What changed most with my mindset? Yeah, I think you stumped me on that one. There's so much that's changed over the years.
Because I find that mindset is, and we don't know it at the time.
Yeah.
We don't know that that's what's holding us back.
Right.
And I don't even know that we really realize it when it's happening.
Right.
But then after the fact, it's like, oh, you know what? This is where I was holding myself back.
Yeah. Yeah. We always have those glass ceilings. So first one for me was, if I hire a team, I'm going to make less. I'm going to pay everything over to them, and it's going to take time to build up and all those different things. So that was probably the first mindset shift. I think probably the second one is just, it's probably along the same lines. You're so scared to make that next hire. You're so scared that, is the investment going to pay off? Is seasonality, things are down a little bit. Are they going to come back? And my wife used to call it the 1 year freak out moment. I had kind of this annual freak out moment and a lot of agents have it too.
Yeah. Was it at the same time of year? Or?
Usually, yeah. And I've even talked to agents. Some of our best agents on the team are like, oh yeah, I always have an annual freak out of, my sales went down a little bit. Am I ever going to make another sale? But I think it's just more trusting the process. We've gotten it to the point where, we've won 6 straight state championships. We know the process that works. And so, a new agent coming in, they're not going to change the process. They're coming to be part of that winning culture, that winning team. And so we know if we execute these plays, it's going to work. And so the biggest thing now is being just more disciplined and not allowing anything on that flywheel, anything part of that process to fall off and not to do it anymore.
How hard is that? Like, do you ever get shiny object syndrome where you find you've kind of like veered a little bit and then you're, whoa, why did we do that? Come back.
Yeah, in real estate, that's a big thing, is shiny object syndrome. There's a lot of vendors out there pitching products. I'm probably pretty more conservative, where that's not as big a challenge for me. But I do think, it's still something I've got to be careful about, because I think back a few years ago, we had a great team member that was running our client care department. She was amazing. And, for whatever reason, just, she did it for a long time, was ready to move on to something else. And I didn't rehire at that moment. It was around 2020, 2021, and the market was changing, and just things were a little weird at the time. And so I didn't replace that position. And it was a few years until we did it again. And it was a huge mistake. It was probably one of the worst business mistakes that I ever made, because clients are so important for us. I really, what I did is I kind of shifted that responsibility back to the agents. Because one of the things that they were pushing for was, hey, we want a higher split for some of our past clients and Sphere. And so I invested that money back into them, which was great, but some of them weren't maintaining those relationships like they needed to. And so that was one of the big business mistakes that I made, and not doing as many client events and some of those different things. And so for me, it's all about, hey, you got a proven process. You got to continue to stay on it.
So tell us about these client events, because that's really what sparked us kind of chatting.
Yeah. So I believe, I'm not a big believer in like closing gifts, and some of our agents will do that. And I don't believe in that, because closing is like closure, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is with most real estate agents. Like, hey, it was great knowing you. Like, have a great life. We're done. Here's the gift. And there's so much going on during that time. The gift gets lost. It's just not of no value. And so we invest infinitely more in our past clients, basically family, because we believe they're part of our family. And so what do we do is we get their birthdays, and we try to send them birthday treats on their birthdays, and we celebrate holidays. We got the annual pie day that we do, and then quarterly events as well. That's what families do. They get together throughout the year, and so we try to have different events that appeal to different people. And I think Dave & Buster's was a really popular one. I think we're gonna have to do that one again. We've got a movie night coming up. I don't know if you've gotten tickets for that one. That's one of the things we don't like about movie theaters. There's only so many seats that you can have. They sell out really quick, but a big facility like Dave & Buster's, it's harder to sell out.
Mm-hmm. I think you managed to do it though.
It was pretty close. I think we had almost 500 people there.
No way. Yeah. So, is that the kind of, how often do you have them?
So quarterly is what we do. So,
and do you have that kind of attendance every quarter?
Well, this next quarter is a movie. I think we were capped at like 350, 400
for the theater.
For the theaters. Yeah. I mean, that's with getting like 4 different theaters.
Yeah. What movie?
Mario.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
the family one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it feels like a lot of what you guys do is very centered around the family. Can you ramble the core values off at any given time?
If I couldn't do that, then that would mean we're not living by them.
Yes.
Right? That would be pretty sad if I could not give you the core values.
Yeah.
And that's something that we do. Like, we have First Wednesday. We have our team meeting on First Wednesdays. And that's something that we do every time. And I ask them, hey, what are the core values?
Nice.
And, because as a leader, sometimes you got to tell people, something 6-7 times for it to sit in. If we just said it at the interview stage, but we didn't live by it. I have all the time leaders are like, hey, is this, what should we do in this situation? Well, let's look at the core values. So to answer your question, like our mission statement, it's very much like kind of the great, it's inspired by the Great Commission in the Bible. And so, Great Commission is you go out and you serve people locally, and, people that are like your friends and family, people who are like you, and then people that aren't like you. And so, the way we look at that is, how we phrased it is we want to honor God in all that we do, and we want to make an impact on our team members, our clients, basically all of our stakeholders, our team members, our clients, our local community, and then really our vision around the world as well. So, that's what we try to live by. And then we have 5, we guess kind of added a 6, but we've had 5 main core values. The top 3 are basically what we interview off of. And in short, number 1 is integrity, non-negotiable. We've had people that can kind of quote unquote sell, make sales, but that's not the way that we do things. And we've had to let them go. So that's an absolute non-starter, non-negotiable for us. The second one is we believe in teamwork. We are a team. We believe 1 + 1 = 3. That's how our agents are able to sell so many homes and be successful, is they have admin staff that are helping support them and helping them achieve more. And, I've achieved so much more in my life because of my teammates, and they're achieving more because of their teammates. And so if you got into real estate to do it on your own and be out on your own island, this isn't the right place for them. And then another one that we kind of measure people by too is, you look at real estate and sometimes you watch some of these shows like $1 Million Listing and you think, oh, it's super easy. Just drive a bunch of fancy cars and show homes. It's actually a really challenging business. And so we look for people that are action oriented. Some people like proverbial road of life, they drive down the road, there's, a boulder in the middle of the road or whatever. They're like, oh, it just wasn't meant to be. I need to just turn around and go somewhere else. Those aren't the agents we're looking to hire. We're looking for people who are like, oh, can I go this way? Can I go that way? Can I go over it? I just need to blow the boulder up. Like, they just find a way to get things done. There's some people that just find a way, and there's other people that are just looking for excuse to turn around. And so those are people that we're not looking for. And then things that we try to live by is, number one is we do believe in balance. We believe that they should always put their family or the faith first. So people know that when my daughter, my son, or like anybody has a basketball game or something like that, we're there. Like, we're headed to Atlanta this weekend. I'm going to be leaving a little bit early on Friday. I can't schedule any Friday afternoon meetings with me this Friday because my family comes first.
For like a travel ball or
Yeah,
something?
travel ball. Yeah.
Oh, it's so time consuming.
It is.
But so important.
Yeah, so I end up doing a lot of, it doesn't mean that I'm not working. It means I might do some extra work on the weekends and nights. And I'm always working. I'm always thinking about real estate and our business. And then the other thing is we believe in giving back. We believe in making an impact. Because you can make money. Money's important. It's nice. Necessary, but it's not the end thing. We're really more worried about our legacy and the impact that we're making on our local community and really around the world. And then we recently added one. We've always said this, and we talked about billboards a few minutes ago. We had a billboard once up that said every home deserves 5-star service. And so, but that's like a core value too. Yeah. Because you go work for some companies and they really focus on those $1 million listings or whatever it may be. And that's a like a dividing line in the sand on ours. Like, it doesn't matter. It's $100,000 home or $1 million home. They all deserve 5-star service. And that's what we're about.
They're going to go through the same processes. They're going to get the same service. They're going to have access to the same people, the same types of things.
Yeah. And it's not that the $1 million clients aren't getting, good service. Amazing. It just means that everybody is. Yeah. And so that's something that's really important. And it's sometimes it's hard for agents. They're paid on commission. And so sometimes they can look at value that way. We want to hire agents that don't see it that way. And
but how do you do that? Like, how do you pressure test that? Does it just come out? You can just see it? It
comes out. Yeah. I mean, we've had people that, they'll throw away all the lower price range leads, and that don't last. We don't allow that to happen. It's actually, it's a really bad business decision too. I actually would much rather work with a first-time home buyer. Like, first-time home buyers, probably the most enjoyable in a sense because it's their first home. Yeah. You're changing their family. There's so many great things about it, but it's also the most financially beneficial because they're just getting started. Yeah. They're going to sell they're going to sell and they're going to buy and they're going to do that again a couple of times. They're going to have friends that they refer to versus that $1 million seller that's moving to Florida.
I mean, how many times are they going to do that?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and we obviously love working with those folks as well, but if put them side by side,
they're not any more important than,
right. Yeah, you're actually going to make a whole lot more money and serve more clients with that first time home buyer. Yeah,
because they're starting out and there's really not a lot nowhere to go but up from that first home sometimes.
And now too, I tell our agents, it's kind of, to me, it's like a holy calling because affordability is such a challenge across the nation. It's not as bad as it is here, but it's not as affordable as it used to be. And it's hard for these young kids to buy their first home. And so, sometimes it takes more work. Like, we have a first time home buyer counseling session. You really got to work with them. It might be harder for them to get into their first home, but you're making, it's like a holy impact. Like, it's good for society. People that own homes, they vote more. They're more involved in their community. They're more involved. They're happier.
More bought in.
Yeah,
right?
they're building wealth. 40 times the net worth for homeowners versus renters.
So does renting ever make sense? Do you ever tell someone? Would that ever be your advice?
Yeah. Sometimes it does make sense. If you're moving to Huntsville for a year, by the time you look to sell the home and you pay our fee again, and it probably doesn't make sense. So usually you need to be in the home at least 3 years. Usually 4 to 5 plus is kind of the safety net. So if you're just not going to be there a really long time, if you don't have the reserves, because things do go wrong. And that's
it as soon as you buy that house, like suddenly, wait, what happened?
Yeah. But we also encourage clients that are in that position, buy a new home, buy a home that has a warranty. So that's part of the education process as well. Your first home may not need to be in 5 Points. You may want to end up there, but you might need to buy that first home that has the home warranty as well.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about marketing. What are some of the marketing mistakes that you feel like you've made?
Yeah, I think just like a general concept, a general framework, I think where a lot of people make mistakes is they look at, well, like, hey, he's doing billboards, so let me do billboards. So I've seen a lot of other real estate, so this isn't directly for me, but I've seen a lot of other real estate agents. Oh, Matt's doing a lot of billboards. I should do billboards.
If I want to be like Matt, I should do this.
And they go spend all this money, and then 6 months later, they're out of business, or they're not doing them anymore because they didn't know the framework. They didn't understand everything behind it. So the biggest mistakes are investing in something that you don't understand. And then the second big mistake is firing a cannonball when you should have fired a bullet. And what I mean by that is, let's say we're at war and you've got a battleship and I got a battleship. You're about to fire at me. You got two options. You got gunpowder here, right? You can load up all your gunpowder. Oh, I got them. I'm going to load it all up. I'm just going to blow them away. But if you miss, you're a sitting target now, right? And so what you need to do is you need to, put a bullet in and, oh, I missed. Okay, let me recalibrate. And keep recalibrating. Oh, I actually hit metal now. Now I can actually load up all my gunpowder and fire away. So that's like two big concepts there. Number one is most people don't test when they should be testing. And then the second thing is most people don't have the conviction to go all in when they should go all in.
Right. Like, when do you burn the boats versus when are you just testing? So can you give us any insight into testing, like how you guys go about it?
We're always testing.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of epic fails. But epic fails, I say epic fails, like they were a failure, but they weren't epic fails because we didn't put all, we're still here, right? We're, and so I think probably the biggest, actually, let me come back to that. Okay. I'm going to tell you the biggest marketing mistake I ever made. But that's the biggest thing is a lot of people just won't make those investments like they need to. And so we're always testing out different things, and you got to be able to measure them. And so, we're cutting our losses and putting more money behind the other things that are working. And I think that's the other thing too, that I guess there's probably two mistakes now that I think about it. So number one mistake is have you read the book Who Moved My Cheese? So it's who moved my cheese.
Okay.
So a fictional little book about two mice, and they're in this maze, and they go and they know where the cheese is. Every day they're going to the cheese. I love my cheese. They keep going to it. One day the cheese isn't there. Two mice. One mice is like, they keep going back, like, oh, the cheese still isn't here, but they're so sad. The other one's like, hey, look, the cheese isn't here. It's not coming back. They go out in the maze. They go try to re-find it. And that's a principle of marketing. Things always change, especially when you're building on other people's platforms. The whole idea behind Google and Facebook and any other new tool that comes out there, they're going to make it super cheap to get everybody in, get you hooked, and then they're going to raise the prices. So what may have worked back here may not work as good in a few years. And so you always need to be testing new things. And then And so one mistake that we made is we got so comfortable with the cheese that we weren't experimenting on some new things. And so that was one mistake.
You're like, this works, and we're going to keep doing it, and we're going to do it this way, and let's just keep going here.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. The other mistake, well, I'm kind of hesitant to put this on video, but I'll put it out there.
Thanks for being vulnerable.
Yeah. So one of the things that we used to do, so you know the company Zillow, right? Mm-hmm. So Zillow, what they did is, they sold advertising, and we were selling about 50 homes a year or so, and it was doing well. We were spending a little bit. I was like, well, what if I was testing it? What if I doubled it? Will I double our sales? Would I 1.5x our sales? Like, what would happen? So I doubled it, and it was still the same, still 50 sales. I was like, that's strange. I was like, well, what if I just cut it out altogether? Still 50 sales. Because what was happening was they had something on their profile, like you could do reviews, and people were finding us that way, and that's how our sales were really coming in. It was off of their reputation, off of the free side of their platform. Of course, they started to figure that out, and it's harder to get those free sales now, which it's their platform. They can do whatever they want to. Right. And so they flew me to New York to one of their offices and pitched me on this new idea, and they wanted me to spend lots of money with them. And I was like, I just don't think that makes sense. I kind of like my free cheese over here. and so we stayed down that road. We turned it down, and gosh, they didn't like it. We had all these reviews and people saying nice things about us, and they shut all of that down.
Because they controlled it.
They controlled it. They turned my face. It actually might have looked better, but they turned my face into a white face, like it was just a blank face. Just a blank face. It
might have looked better.
It might actually have been better. Maybe that helped business. But they took our platform down, and it just did all kinds of things to us. And that allowed me to, what that actually allowed other people to do is they've continued to grow, and it allowed other companies to come in and form relationships with them and build their businesses off of it. And I was always like, that they did us wrong and all these kind of things. So long story short is we decided to get back on their platform, and it's about 15% of our business right now. A lot of teams make a big mistake of making 80-90% of their business, which that's crazy. They
it's a lot of eggs in one basket.
They own it. Like your business can go away like that. And so, but for us, we're going to take on that piece of business. Like we just agreed to a big contract with them, and we're going to be able to expand in a lot of ways, provide new leads for some of our new agents, and so it's going to be a really good thing for us. But that was probably the biggest mistake that I made, was just not seeing the direction and just being stuck on, I kind of like my 50 free sales, and not seeing where the puck was headed.
So would you say that, obviously the testing method, and would you do it different if you had it to do all over again, or did the lesson that came from that outweigh it?
As far as the Zillow side?
Yeah.
Yeah. It had hindsight being 2020, I would have done it differently.
Okay.
But I'm glad, that we made those mistakes, because that's how you grow. That's how you learn. You fail forward.
So is 15% maybe, like, not putting you on the spot to say a good standard, but like if you're weighing how your stuff is coming in, is that a good number to shoot for? Like, okay, this is about 15% of our market. Let's diversify. Let's get other things to keep that kind of level.
Yeah, I think 20-25% is a really good number. Once you start getting above that, there's a lot of risk. When one client, like if you had one client that was 50% of your business, like that's a lot of pressure. If they call up and say, hey, Dana, I don't know about this, that'll keep you up at night.
Yeah, for sure.
15% would hurt, but we'd find ways to make it up.
Right. And you can do that a little bit more quickly and adaptable. All right. So, what would you say are the most important numbers for you to be watching as the business owner, the leader?
For us, we have KPIs, key performance indicators, and some of those are leading indicators and lagging indicators. And so, some of the leading indicators that we look at on a daily basis, weekly basis. So I know AI will help us with this. We have different systems, and so we kind of manually chart some of this stuff now. We have some systems that chart some of it, but calls, conversations, appointments.
Most of them are tracked automatically. You don't have to have your agents
they're doing
manually.
Through the CRM system. Like they're making a call, it automatically goes in. They plug in that appointment, it automatically gets tracked.
Yeah. And if we're not eating, if we're not getting these things, all the rest is going to hurt.
Yeah. And since everybody's doing that and we have such great data, we can now know, you decide, hey, I'm going to get into real estate. We can now measure success for you, show you what it looks like. Yeah. I know for our team, on average, it's 150 calls for every contract.
Wow.
It's about 25 conversations for every contract.
I was going to say, if it's 150 calls, is that just dials?
That's dials, yeah. So, 1 in 6 dials typically results in a conversation. It's about 6 appointments per contract. And so if we have a brand new agent that's taking them 1,000 calls to get a contract, they're probably not very good on the phone yet.
Yeah.
And so we have tools that help them get better on the phone, like training. We have AI role playing and all these different things that can help them get better at that. Now, if they're scheduling all these appointments and not getting contracts, let's say it takes them 15 appointments to get a contract, they're just not good at helping the client narrow it down. And we now know what one thing that we need to do to be able to help them out.
I love that.
So those KPIs work on a company basis. They work on an individual agent basis. And as we know, as our calls are going up, our calls are going down, we know contracts are going to go up or down based off of that.
And so if you see an agent that's not willing to make the 150 calls, okay, so do you give them time frames? Hey, if you want to sell this many, you got to do these 100. Is it 150 a week? Is it 150 in 2 months? Is it what's that look like?
It depends.
Yeah.
It really depends on the agent. So we have, at the end of the year or when they join our team, we have this agent goal worksheet. It just kind of walks them through their goals. Number one question is, how much do you want to make? All right. Well, based on that, you need to sell this number of homes.
Yeah.
Well, you want to make this much, you want to sell this number of homes, you need to make this number of calls. And so that's really what it amounts to. We have some agents that'll sell 100 homes. We have some agents that'll sell 10. We have some agents that'll sell 30. So it's really more about the agent and lining up with their goals, also lining up the lead opportunities as well. We have a ton of leads coming in. If your goal's 10, you probably don't need 1,000 leads to do that.
Right.
And so also providing the right lead flow for those agents that are looking to do that.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So we talked about the vision and what changed from then to now.
Can I say one other thing?
Oh, yeah.
Another big thing about it is, everybody comes in, everybody wants to make $100,000.
Why is it that number?
I don't know. It's the crazy thing about it is, even with inflation, it's still 100,000. It was 100,000 5 years ago.
Right, when it was more.
Right, exactly. It's this psychological
Something
thing.
about the six figures.
But here's the thing. Tell our agents, you've got to figure out what your why is. Your why has to be greater than any amount of pain it's going to take to get there. If not, you're not going to achieve it.
You're not.
You can say, hey, I want to sell $100,000 or make $100,000, $200,000, whatever it may be. But if your why is not big enough to get you out of bed to make those calls or do whatever, because things are going to get tough. But if your why is big enough, you'll find a way to do it. And
you have to keep it in front of you, right? I find that sometimes I'll see this quite frequently. People love to set a goal. And I am pretty good at setting goals, myself.
Yeah.
And you get this little hit of dopamine just by saying it out loud. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to take action.
Yeah.
You just get that. And sometimes that's enough for people.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And we can set a goal and then we can forget it. And then a month goes by and it'll be okay, so did you hit your goal? Oh man, I don't even remember. What did I say my goal was?
Right.
Right? And so you have to keep things top of mind.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you keep things top of mind?
So for our team, we do quarterly one-on-ones. We revisit what their goals were. Anything changed? Anything we need to tweak? More leads, more calls? What do you need to do to hit it? Did you find that, hey, I really don't want to make $150,000. I really want to make 75? No problem. Let's adjust to that. So that's a big thing that we look at, in their goals as well.
All right. What about you personally, though? Because that's where I want to shift to.
Yeah.
What's that next vision look like for you? And maybe your life, your business, like what is it?
I'm coming off of probably one of the most challenging periods of my life. The last few years, right after COVID, we had just this event. We were growing. And, with the market being easier, yes, like we provide training and leads and support and all these kind of things. And so, with that, some agents decide to do it on their own because they think it's easy at that point. But what really happened is we had this team lead that we hired to recruit and train and everything. And they went off and did their own thing, which was great. Good for them. But when you take leads and you do all these things that weren't right.
Right.
That really affected me for a few years. I was like, oh man, it's like, what do I want to do next? So I really kind of struggled with that for a few years, and I've kind of revitalized my energy on growing again. We've got the best business we've ever had. We're going to have the best year we've ever had. But it took a few years because we had to build back, agents that were selling 58, like we probably lost 60-70% of our agent business. And so we had to recruit and train and hire and rebuild systems and all these kind of things. And so, that dip was a hard thing, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because of what God taught me through that. It's just really made me lean more into the Word than I've ever been. And just my relationship with God has really improved as a result of that. And so sometimes I think you got to go through like those dips in life to go to the next level. Cause I just think about it, like had I not gone through that dip, I don't think I would have been the leader or the person ready to lead for that next vision.
That's where we learn so much.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think too, like, if we don't have the valleys, how do we even appreciate the mountains?
Exactly.
You don't, if you haven't felt this, how do you know that this is great?
Right.
If there's nothing to compare it to.
Right.
And so we learn and we grow through that. So what's the vision look like?
Yeah. And I'd say like one of the things that I really wanted to challenge myself about a year ago. And so what I did is I ordered a jar. Actually ended up being 2 jars, but I calculated first how many potential, if I live to average age of say 80, how many weeks do I have left? And I bought that number of marbles and I put them in a jar. And so every week now,
wow,
I take a marble out.
How keeping it top of mind for sure.
And it's like, it's in my office. I see the marbles. It's top of mind.
It's like sand in the hourglass.
And so I wanted to just be more intentional with the time that God gave me each and every week. All right. And so I now have a Google Doc each week. What 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things did I do to move the needle? Or did I listen to God to move the needle? And it challenges me to not just, coast in a week, because really, I mean, at this point, the business could coast. I could just not show up not forever.
I mean,
but
you
for
could,
some time,
and then would slowly
slow drip away. But that's not what I'm about. That's not what I want to do. And so I want to challenge myself to, hey, how do we get better each and every week? And so I document it. The funny thing about that, the other thing that I do each year, this is something I stole from John Maxwell, is I'll revisit my calendar. And I'll go through day by day, hour by hour, and I'll just make notes. I usually make 20 pages or so worth of notes and say, this is something that was amazing. I need to do it again in 2027. Or this was a complete waste of time. I'm never doing it again. I've learned so many lessons from that. I also went back and revisited the marbles. And some of the things that I thought were impactful, I was like, "Ooh." Yeah, but those were.
That was me being naive again.
Yeah, those were. But that's life. Not everything is a win.
Oh, yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, if I could only do this, everything would change.
Yeah.
And then you do that, and things didn't really change.
Yeah. It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
I love it.
I heard somebody say once that, most successful people are just standing on a pile of garbage. that's my life. I mean, there's a lot I went through in my childhood and my raising and mistakes I made in my life, and by God's grace, I'm here. But people look at you, you're like, oh, you're an overnight success.
Must have been easy.
Yeah.
Must have been easy for you.
Yeah. When I tell my life story to people, they're like, I would have never thought that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be another one. We need to
That'll be
dig
part
into.
two.
We need to
That'll be
listen to
part
the whole
two.
life
Yeah.
story. You have to drop a comment if you want to hear the whole life story, because we got to have him back in, right? Okay, I love it. And so so we're being intentional. We're building, we're paying attention. And sometimes your brain, you tell it what to look for, right? Mm-hmm. And if you are a very negative space and you continue to look for negative things like, oh my God, this is happening. Mm-hmm. But then if you look for the positive, you look, what did I do that made an impact this week? You're going to get more of those opportunities and more of those things. Mm-hmm. So this, like, right up my alley. I love this all day. What is that? Where do you want it to take you as you're being intentional?
As far as like the business,
yeah, like, or I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe right now at this point in your life, I don't know. Maybe you're more focused on life balance and fulfillment. Like maybe you're looking for something else. Maybe you're looking for more impact. What does it look like for you?
Yeah. So, if I'm on my deathbed right now, one of the things I think I look at is, did we build 1,000 homes? And so that's a big thing that we're trying to figure out. We're at 157. We got a long way to go. People sometimes ask me, are you going to sell your business? I get emails all the time people trying to buy my business. I'm not selling my business. I can't. I haven't even sold 1,000 homes. I haven't even built 1,000 homes yet. So that's something I
build
really
1,000 homes.
So that's something I really think about. I also think about like when I was growing up and seeing my grandparents and like seeing them retire and then die like shortly after. And I think what happens is, you no longer have a purpose. Like God doesn't need me to build 1,000 homes or anything else. Whatever he wants to do, he's going to do. But he chooses to use us, and that's the grace. And I just want him to continue to choose to use me. But if I decide, hey, I'm good, I'm just going to go to the beach for the rest of my life, I'm not really that valuable anymore. And so I think it's important that we continue to do things that make an impact on others. And so that's what I want to do. I think what I enjoy doing, I don't enjoy like the day-to-day stuff. And that's what I love about our business now. I've got folks that are so good at the day-to-day. Like if an agent comes to me asking for help on a contract, that is just not up my wheelhouse anymore. I'm just not good at that anymore. But I love all day. I am our biggest teacher. I will always be our biggest teacher on our team and trainer. I love doing those things. So I love making an impact for our team and helping them build this amazing career to help their family. So I love that side of it. I also enjoy like investing and finding ways to give and making impacts. And so I'm wired that way. And so that's what I'm really focused on right now is, building 1,000 homes, enjoying our family and continue to grow.
So, are we tracking?
And to answer your question on the real estate side, like we're on pace to sell about 1,000 homes this year. I hesitate to tell you our goal because one of the things I was going to tell you a second ago about goals is when you tell somebody else your goal, you get that dopamine hit, and it's like you almost achieved it.
Yeah.
And so you don't act impressed when I say this. Okay. I don't want that dopamine to hit. But in 2027, our goal is to sell 1,500 homes. Yeah, it's nothing, right? But we're still striving to get better each year.
And so 1,500 homes would equate to how many building how many homes?
So every 100, so it equate to 15. Right now we're under promising and over delivering. Like this year we'll do 20 homes.
Nice. Do you ever go?
Yes.
You go and help them do it?
Oh,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Life changing.
I think
you should
that
come
we
with
could
us sometime. Yeah.
Where is it?
Right now we're building, a couple countries in Central America, but Guatemala is the main one.
Oh yeah. I could get behind that. All right. Well, I'm so glad that you came in with us. And I can't wait to hear part 2 of this story. Thank you guys for tuning in. Why don't you tell people where they can find you guys on socials?
Super easy. Just Google Matt Curtis. Matt Curtis Real Estate. You'll find our website, our YouTube channel. If you're a real estate agent, we have a YouTube channel just for real estate agents, a podcast that you can find. Real Estate Matters is our podcast. find me on Instagram, Facebook. There's lots of ways to connect, but you can just Google us.
Yeah, because everything matters.